All right, and we are live. Let me go ahead and make sure we're live on Instagram. Don't think it's working. All right, and we're gonna give some time for people to join in. As you can see, the title is right there: "Grow the Cure" with Farmer D back in the house. All right,
Yes.
so if anyone is watching live with us, this is the time to ask questions. Yes, the live link for Instagram is working, and I'll be monitoring the chat. So, Farmer D, it's always great having you on, but now we got a special treat. Not only do we get to talk to you, but we get to talk to a special guest at the end of our show, in the realm of supplements, right? So this is actually a friend of yours that you introduced to me. So I really appreciate the connection. Connecting with Black-owned businesses is really important to me, especially ones that are supporting other Black-owned businesses. So you guys who are watching, make sure you're watching to the end, because at the end of our show, we're going to bring on Joy, and you're going to learn how to get supplements you can trust. Okay. And they have an amazing mission behind what they're doing in the Washington, D.C. area. So you want to watch this to the end. Farmer D is going to bring some good stuff to us, and we're going to end with a treat at the end, a special treat. So you can see the topic. Where last time we talked Farmer D, we talked about starting a farm. So I think this is a really good part 2, because now we could talk about which specific vegetables or produce we should grow and the health benefits of those foods. All right.
Yeah.
So
just
we're
like
gonna get. No.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're also gonna give the people opportunity to get the this right here, which would be download of all the vegetables in list form. So make sure you scan the QR code. We'll have the link also in the chat. I'm gonna post the link in the chat so you can get actual list of all the foods that we're talking about, the produce that we're talking about, and their health benefits. So I think that's a really good addition. Farmer D, thanks so much for putting that together. Okay, so I'll probably share that with the people once you come off the screen. I should say once you're done with your presentation. All right. So yeah, man. So we are gonna dive right in. Let me take this title off your face so we can see you, man.
Right. Some people might actually like it over my face, but we don't have enough time to talk about that.
Sorry. Humble, man. You humble, man.
I am. Yeah. But yeah, again, I just want to thank you, Louis, for giving me the opportunity to speak to the people. I really like my opportunity to try to educate people, try to convince them to eat healthy. That way your medicine, because it's actually your medicine. We have to take medicine if you eat the right foods. I mean, Mother Nature and the good Lord above has given us everything we need right here. We just need to know which foods to eat and how. But a lot of people are intimidated to grow their own fruits or vegetables, but it's not as hard as you think. Some people think you need to have 10, 20 acres to grow things. You don't. You can grow a lot of things even in your kitchen with the microgreens, or, a lot of people live in townhouses, apartments, and you can grow stuff in containers, or you can put them on your patio, or even if you live in a townhouse, you can grow stuff in the small yard you may have in the back or even in front. And I don't know if many people have been to Seattle, but if you go to downtown Seattle, every inch of dirt is used on the sidewalks between the house and the road. That little strip, they got flowers, or they got fruits, or they got vegetables. Something is growing in it. They don't waste any space. And I think now is the opportunity for us to do the exact same thing, mainly because we don't know where our fruits and vegetables come from. We have no idea what sprayed on them, and we have no idea what soil is
Absolutely.
in it, that they're grown in. Now, with the Food and Drug Administration, there's imbalances.
Mm-hmm.
You're basically on your own. Exactly where your food comes from, or how. Yeah.
Gotcha. And I apologize for the.
So that's why I decided to come up with some.
Farmer D. Just a moment. So there's a little static on your end, but we can hear you. So just keep talking. If the call drops, we'll have you jump right in. And just a greeting for those who are watching. Thank you so much. If you have questions, join in. JJ joining in, Sheila. Thank you so much for greeting us in the chat room. Sheila is all the way in Magnolia, Arkansas. So that's awesome.
Oh my goodness. Welcome,
And,
Sheila.
that's another thing too. Like there's people all over the country who may be watching our show tonight. All the vegetables you're going to talk about, you can grow them anywhere, or the climate.
For the most part. Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, you can grow these anywhere. I won't be talking about anything like citrus where you need to be in a really, really hot climate. But I just want to talk general and just make it really, really easy.
Okay.
A lot of the vegetables are kid friendly, because you want to get the kids involved at an early age, and you want them to be successful. So I want to try to show them things that'll make it easy for them.
That's awesome. So give us, I guess maybe we could start with what the list is. If we got people, hopefully you guys.
All right. Yeah. Well, the first one, and I feel this CEOs. They're small, they're and enjoy like them. And the cherry made a multi of pickings through the whole season, based July until frost, and they will continue to grow. For example, if you did broccoli, your broccoli head, you cut it off, you have to start over again. But with cherry style tomatoes, it is continual. You get them all the time, and they give you volume. And again, the list that Lewis will show you at the end of the program would tell you the vitamins and that contributed to cherry style tomatoes. So that's the first one. The next one is peppers.
Cherry style tomatoes.
Yeah, when I say cherry style tomatoes, I mean the little small ones, the little teeny round.
That's why those are the small ones. Okay, yeah, that's what I wanted to clarify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they grow fast. See, that's what I like about them too. Especially with kids nowadays, they get impatient. With the larger tomatoes, it takes a while for them to grow, and some of them could be it could be harder to grow. But a cherry style tomato, the smaller type, they're easy. They come in different varieties. There'll be some striped ones, there'll be yellow ones, there'll be red ones, all different colors. But to get that's what I would suggest. Sure.
Yeah. I like that you.
Next one would be.
I said I like that you're talking about the fact we need to get our kids interested in vegetables, because you can imagine how that changes the next generation if they grow up learning what we never learned, like, what I'm saying, an essential skill like starting a garden. So that's important, man.
That's what got me involved. And I had tomatoes and squash and cucumbers and peppers, but I would try to suggest is peppers, because again, they're easy to grow. You can actually do those. So even the cherry style tomato, you can do those in a small pot, put it on your deck, or even in your backyard if you don't have much of a space. And then as it gets colder during the winter months, you can bring it in, so you can extend your growing season for a month or so, just because you have it's mobile. I would suggest that. Cucumbers is another one. It's going to give you you're going to be picking cucumbers every week, because the vines. But unlike cherry style tomatoes and peppers, the cucumbers, you're going to need a trellis for them to grow, because it is a vine. But they will give you a volume of fruit. When I say fruit, I mean cucumbers. But that's another one that I suggest. Let me get my glasses on here. When you get my age, you need some glasses.
Yeah.
Zucchini or squash, summer squash is another one. Squash, you only need a couple of squash plants. You don't need that at all, because squash, the more you pick and give to your family, your plants are, because your plants are trying to produce. So
Yeah, that's very bad.
continue to.
I don't know if people can hear you better than I can,
Yeah,
but you repeat that. I think you were saying what you don't need.
I was saying that it's to keep your vines picked. Don't wait till they get overripe. You pick them at their peak of,
Gotcha.
yeah, because the more
Gotcha.
you pick them, the better the vine will produce, because the vine is trying to produce fruit. And like I was going to say later, but if there's any blemishes on the produce, pick those off, or if any bad or rotten ones, pick those off, because you want to send the energy to the produce that are
Good.
actually doing good, and not the
Mhm.
plant wasting this time on trying to repair one that's defective.
Okay.
As well as the leaves on the plant. If the leaves are brown or discolored, pick those off too, because you
Okay.
want the plant to send all this energy to making really nice fruit.
Okay. Are there any other don'ts, like can you overwater your produce, like your things you're growing?
Well, I don't know what most of the people are, but here in Virginia, we got Saturday night, we got about 4.5 inches of rain.
A lot of rain too.
And that's way more than what the plants really want.
Mhm.
And because we had just got rain late, so I on some of my tomato plants today, and they did not like it. Some of them starting to wither up. So I'm hoping that we don't get any more rain and the plants will bounce back. But yeah, too much watering is definitely is not enough. You can't control Mother Nature. I would probably prefer to have to water than deal with the not way too much
Yes.
water, but unfortunately it is what it is. So yeah,
Gotcha. So if it's
but
raining, you
watering it.
probably don't.
I'm sorry.
If it's raining a lot, like then you probably don't need to go out and water.
No, you don't. I heal my plants, and that's a good way of, if you're getting too much water, so they're not actually sitting in the water. So that would help
You
them,
hill
because I
them?
do hill them up.
Gotcha. All right.
Yeah,
Got planning on the hill.
yeah,
Gotcha.
I do hill them up, maybe 8 inches or so.
Okay.
So I do hill them up because of that. Because where I live is flat, totally flat, and I have a lot of clay. So
Okay.
the water, it does hold the water, but unfortunately, it holds it when I really don't want it to hold it. Yeah, and
Okay.
if you live in
I'm
the area that have, I'm
sorry to cut
sorry.
you off. Yeah, there's a delay a little bit, but there's
Oh,
a
okay.
question I want to address. But on that, so I don't forget, how do you go about healing? How do you do that?
Oh, well, healing is basically you take the dirt and just build a mound. Is what you're doing. For a
Okay.
squash, you would just build a mound, and then you would set the seed or the plant in top of the mound.
Uh,
And the roots will go down. And then if you do have a lot of root, plant are actually not in water, being saturated. So that's what they call healing.
healing.
You
Okay.
you do that with potatoes, because they need a place for the potatoes to grow. The healing is
Gotcha.
what I normally do.
So before we
Yeah.
go on through the list, Coach JJ had a question. She writes, if I have seeds from a veggie, how do I start them? Well, how do you start, I guess, basically from the beginning?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, is she allow if she has seeds from a veggie? So I'm assuming, just for example, maybe she got some really good sweet cantaloupe, and she loved the cantaloupe, so she saved the seeds. Maybe that's what she's talking about. First of
Okay.
all, you want the seeds to dry out. You want to make sure that they're nice and dry. If you get it from a fresh cantaloupe, probably about a month or so.
Mhm.
Normally, what people do is save the seeds for the next season. But for example, if she had reclaimed some seeds from something that she ate and she really, really liked it, just take it and put it in a cup or a little small planter with some growing potting soil, and
Yeah.
keep it in the sunny area, and give it some water. You don't want to over water it, because then again the seed would rot in the soil. So,
Mhm.
and then you'll keep it in a sunny area, and you'll see it start to grow. And then you can, after about a couple of weeks, once the plant gets up to about 4 or 5 inches, all depends on what type of plant it is, then you can plant it outside.
Okay. Very good advice, man. All right. So
Mhm.
yeah, what's next on the list that we should grow?
Uh, I have went through string beans. String beans is another good one, because they will pickings off of string beans. Many types of string beans. There's grow about a foot or so off the ground. And then there are pole beans that, again, like the cucumbers, you would need a trellis for them to grow up. But to grow up. So I would suggest beans, because string beans, and they come yellow wax beans or green bean, because you will get many pickings off of one planting. And then once that plant is done, you could plant another row of beans, because the growing season is long enough here in Virginia. You can plant another row of beans. The same thing with the cucumbers. You can you could plant it in succession. For example, you plant some beans today, you wait another month, and then you plant another row of beans. So that way, when the first row has finished, the second row is ready to pick if you want some, continue to eat them through the season. But the beans is really a nice one, because I try to pick stuff that grows continuously.
Gotcha. And you did mention, I remember last time on our conversation, that there's websites where you could see what grows locally in season, like the seasons for different produce, right?
Exactly. Yeah, what grows best in your area. For example, if you live in a sandy soil versus an area that has a lot of clay or even black deck soil, or obviously if you live in Northern Virginia or a northern state, you won't be growing any citrus. But even now, with the way the climate has changed, citrus in Georgia now, because now it's hotter there than what it used to be. Yeah. Even here in Virginia, because of in March it gets really warm. My fruit trees start to bloom, and then we get a frost. And this year I got zero fruit off the trees thought it was actually summertime, and it wasn't. Yeah, but
Interesting.
some people call it global warming. You can call it what you want to, but the facts is that the trees think it's summertime and it's actually not, and then you get a frost and game over.
Gotcha. Before you continue, guys, make sure you're asking your questions. You got a farmer here who's been in the business for a long while, but at the end of the list, where you're going to get, at the end of your talk, you're going to get the list that he's discussing. So I'll make sure to show that on the screen for anyone who's joining in late. You're going to get the list, so don't feel bad if you're not taking notes.
We'll make sure you get that for sure.
Yeah. With that list, we'll also make sure you have all the health benefits, which is awesome, man. Thank you so much for this. All the health benefits of each food that you're encouraged to grow, if you're starting a garden. So it's kind of nice. You got a natural pharmacy, right? An F, right? So you can see what it is I'm getting from the food I'm growing. I like that.
Well, just think about what our grandparents did, right? The home remedy, where'd that come from? They went out in the woods, they went out in the field, out in the garden, they ate, what special to help with, with if you had a ache or had a virus, there was always a remedy. Just before we got on today, people will easily pop a couple of Tylenol in their mouth because of a headache. But how many people know exactly what's in that Tylenol? People don't know. It's just but yet they'll take that in a minute, versus going to grandma's remedy. Well, go out in the field and get some tree bark and boil it, or get some roots from ginger, to help your stomach. But everything we need is right here. We just need to be educated. Our family that actually go out there and forage. There are people that they go out in the fields and forage, and in the woods and forage. They're taking it to the next level. I want to get to that level sooner or later. Because everything we need is here. Everything we need is here. So the next two things I want to talk about are root crops, and would be a radish and carrot. Again, those two, because it's a root crop. Everything I talked earlier produces produce above ground. Other than that, example, a radish or carrot would be below ground in the soil. So you would need an area where the soil was really good in the soil, that soil, soil, and not in a black clay, a real hard soil. You know, that's where people incorporate as much into the soil to up and helps the microbiome as well. So those are
You got to
two
repeat that.
crops. But
We
unlike
Farmer D.
um,
The last 30
yeah,
seconds. If you repeat it, it looked like it got jumped up, man.
that's fine. Now, what I was saying is that radishes and carrots, they should area that has more of a sandy soil. They're going to work better in a sandy soil versus some of the other crops that are above ground. But those are some that you need a soil that has a lot of organic material, or the soil is loose versus the other ones. Lettuce is another one that grows, and it's a gift that keeps on giving. You pull off the lettuce, and then another week it regrows, and you can eat more lettuce. So that's another one. But the lettuce likes shade. It doesn't really like it when it's really, really hot, 80, 90 degrees. So that is crop that you can use in the shade, which is but when you will continue to get lettuce. Some of the other crops I'm going to tell you about, we call those fall crops. These are crops that like cold weather, cooler weather. And that would be some of your greens. You'd be your kales, your mustard, your greens, your beets. And I don't plant greens in the summertime. It looks like the greens because we're using a pesticide. So so I try to start my greens in the fall. September is what I plant the greens, is in the fall. And even though it doesn't kill them, they just won't grow as fast. But they are really, really sweet and tender because of that. So the fall greens is what I like to do. Or you can plant them early in the spring, same thing. But when it gets hot, June, July, they're not going to like that. So, and again, once you pick them, and you can continue to pick them, and of course, greens are healthy. You can cook greens, or you can put them in your salads. They're versatile, and the fact that they in the wintertime, you will have a bounty of greens. And then also herbs. Herbs is they're a no-brainer. Herbs are so easy to grow. Anybody can grow herbs. And those, you can put them in a small container or pot. You can have them in the kitchen, or again on your deck. And then in the wintertime, you can just bring them in. And the herbs would be, your basil, your cilantro, your parsley, oregano, thyme, or and even garlic. Of course, garlic is
Sorry, repeat that again.
I'd say
repeat that again.
Garlic is best one.
Garlic is the best one. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
and exactly.
Go ahead.
I just happen to have some black garlic. Happen to have some. And of course, you can go to my website, www.farmer-d.com, and it'll tell you all the health benefits. That's black garlic. A lot of people say, well, where can I get some black garlic seeds or plants? Well, you can't just plant it. Something that you have to age, and it is a process. It takes months to do it. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I feel that I have it down to a science now that I'm not making as many mistakes as I would normally do. But go to my website, and it'll tell you all the health benefits about it.
Yeah,
definitely.
So farmerd.com, guys. If you couldn't tell from his backdrop, he sells some really good black garlic. You could use it in so many ways. So make sure you're going to farmerd.com. I'll go ahead and show the oops, I think I showed the wrong one. This was what I'm supposed to show. Someone did have a question. I just posted there, Audrey. Thank you for your question. And then we'll go ahead and transition here to the next segment. But oregano and thyme, she's having trouble with coming up. You just said the herbs are easy, but is it possible to have trouble with that?
I guess maybe if they're getting too hot,
Okay.
um, if I don't know what particular herb she's trying
Oregano
to
and
grow.
thyme.
My first
Yep.
on time. Question would be: are you growing them from seed or plants? And that when you buy a plant, you don't know how old the plants are when you.
Okay.
So when you plant them, they might a month or so, but then they have they what we call they bolt, and what that means is that the plant is trying to produce baby plants by creating a flower or going to seed, and that might be an issue too. Yeah,
Okay.
and
So it's
and a
better to
lot of
buy.
I'm sorry.
It's better to buy the seed.
Yeah, it's cheaper. For example, tomato plants. Some tomato plants can cost you between $5 and $15 per plant. Or you can plant a seed which costs you about 5 to 10 cents per seed.
That's yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, but if you only
She
want
says
two or
she's
three
having trouble.
plants,
She's using seeds and having trouble with them coming up.
then my question would be, what type of soil are you planting them directly in the soil, or are you planting them in a cup or a starting tray? Personally, with those, I would start them in a tray versus sowing them in the ground. That
Okay.
would I and for those of you who don't already know, I grow all my plants from seed, every last one of them. I
Mhm.
grow my plants, my herbs, my flowers, everything from seed.
Awesome. Awesome, man.
But I
So
would ask her what her soil would be.
Audrey,
With that.
yeah, if you want to more input, Audrey, let us know. I don't know if that helps, but
Mhm.
I
Or
should
she can
also
email
say,
me, yeah,
yeah,
she can email me later. Go to the website. My email is there. She can contact me
they're
directly.
awesome. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah, go ahead and email the farmer, man. She's growing in
yeah.
pots now. She mentioned she's growing in pots.
Then
Yeah,
I would,
maybe you guys could troubleshoot together, right, a little bit. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Audrey, reach out to me on my website. There's a link where you can send me an email.
yep. And
Yeah.
Coach JJ wants to let you know that she loves you so much.
Oh, thank you,
All right.
thank you, Coach. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So you always giving knowledge, man. You always giving knowledge. So before we talk about Joy and her and the Earth Worker business that's doing great, I just want to remind everybody that they can get the list that we discussed um, tonight by either scanning the code, or I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat right now. It should give you access to the document. And how many pages is the document? I think it's a few pages,
Uh,
right?
three pages. Yeah, it's small.
Pages, yeah, just a
Yeah.
three-page document that talks about the health benefits and which 10 vegetables we should start when we're starting a garden. I know for me, I like to start with the win when I'm doing something new. So, it just makes sense. Thank you so much for this list, Farmer D, because it helps to know where to start so you can get some early success in gardening and
Mhm.
starting a garden. All right. I think it's so important today, like you talked about in this age of food scarcity, not knowing where our food comes from and poor food quality, to do things ourselves like our parents did. So thank you so much for
Mhm.
that. The link will also be it's a long link, so you'll want to find this link in the chat. Click on the link, and you'll get access to the document there. Okay, so make sure you're taking advantage of that opportunity. All right. So, and of course, farmerd.com. Real easy. Farmerd.com, and go get you some black garlic. All right. So, Farmer D, why don't you introduce our
Oh,
next
actually,
guest?
it's www.farmer-d.com.
Dash D. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's another Farmer D trying to impersonate you, huh? Yeah.
yeah. I know. We can't have. There's only one. There's only
There's
one.
only one, man. There's only one. So before you sign off with us tonight, man, can you introduce our next guest? And this
Yeah.
will
Well, I
be
would.
long for those watching, just 10, 15 minutes. We're going to introduce another business you need to know about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was at a event a few months ago at Howard University. It was a health and wellness event for women, and I was there. Um, promoting Pharma D and black garlic, and again, because I want to help people, and that's how I saw Lewis there. Actually, we just want to educate people on the benefits of eating healthy. And while
Mhm.
I was there, I ran across this nice young lady, Joy Green, and I was really impressed with the product that she produces and the reason why. You know, a lot of vendors are out there just trying to make a dollar, but it's not about that for Joy. I believe it's more about helping the community and health awareness. And I was just importing, and I think exclusively on farmers. And I said to myself, you know, I got to do everything I can to help her and anybody else that is doing the right thing.
Mm.
Said the right thing,
Good.
and I felt that I could help her by bringing her to
Mm.
you guys, and that's what I wanted to do. I asked her would she do it. She said she would love to. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Joy Green of Earth Worker, and she will tell you about all the products that she produces.
All right, my man. So we're gonna schedule another meet. So thank you so much, Farmer D, for sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But
Yeah.
we'd like to bring Joy on now.
All right. So yep. You have a good night, my man. All right. So yeah, I know it's kind of hard to hear some of that, but Farmer D was just saying that Joy Green here is doing wonderful things for our community. Her business supports not just Black-owned businesses, but women-owned businesses to be successful. If that was all, I mean that'd be enough. But her product is something we all need. Okay, regardless of our socioeconomical status, we need to know where can we find supplements we can trust, right? So if you guys are, I don't know how many of you guys in the chat using supplements, let us know what you're using, where you get your supplements from, if you have questions. But Joy, let's in this next 10 minutes or so, tell us what inspired you to start this business, and then go into details of what it is you do. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you so much, first of all, for having me, Lewis. I really appreciate it. And even though Farmer D is gone, that was such a fantastic introduction. And I want to thank him as well for the kind words and for reaching out. It takes a village throughout our entire lives. And I'm so happy and proud to be part of his village.
Mhm.
So I am the founder of Earthworker, and I'm a Washington, D.C. based business that does nutritional supplements. And I started this business because, now stay with me, Lewis, as a PA, stay with me. Don't give up on me.
I
But
got
I
you.
went to my doctor, and my doctor diagnosed me with hypertension and told me that her thought was that I had it was my eating habits. And so
Mhm.
she said, you have to change the way you eat. And I asked her, well, if I ate my way into hypertension, can I just eat my way out of it?
Mhm.
And she said she didn't know. And that's when I learned that many doctors only have about 1 semester of nutritional training, unfortunately. So bless her, she did the best that she could and wrote me a prescription. But I knew then that the onus was on me if I wanted to do this differently. And I certainly do not discourage people from taking the medications that I prescribe to them. That's why my business is a supplement. It is in addition to all the hard work that you're already doing. So I have a career in healthcare administration, and I started many years ago. But towards the end of my career, kind of in the upward trajectory, I was working for a couple of large healthcare organizations in the DC and Maryland area.
Mhm.
And I was seeing people who looked like me walking through the halls, and I was watching their lives deteriorate because of diet related chronic illnesses, sicknesses that we have in our body that we can cure with food. And
Mhm.
as a person who, comes from a long line of healthy and robust women, I still, I'm a native Washingtonian. I grew up eating at the carry out, you
Mhm.
know, chips in my backpack when I went to school, and, all those things. And so I had a lot of learning to do on my own as well. I had to figure out a way to get this food into my body when it wasn't something that I was used to. And so I thought, oh, well, maybe supplements were the way. And then I learned about the supplement industry
Mhm.
and the literal poison that is allowed to be in our supplements. It's
Mhm.
not regulated by the FDA. You can make any claims that you want. You can put anything in it and just call it flavoring or, you know, something like that. Call it
Yeah,
a trade secret if
yeah.
you like. And so I knew that I had to do something there as well. But I also know that it's not easy for everyone. We have limiting factors, whether they are socioeconomic, access to fresh fruits and vegetables. But I know people are working hard, and what can I do to give them a really good boost? So I decided I would work with local Black farms in my area, Black owned and women owned farms, to continue to support the businesses that have supported me and to continue to grow our economy from the folks that are really working hard and have given so much to this country. And
Mhm.
so buying fresh produce from them. So that means it's nutrient dense. I know where it's coming from. These are organic practices that folks have, very much like Farmer D, which is why I was so glad to meet him, using some of his produce in my vitamins. So I take these foods, and that's just fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, and seeds. That's it. There's nothing else in my vitamins. I flash freeze dry them as soon as they're picked, which means that they have a lot of nutritional value, but also I'm able to lock it in through the flash freeze drying um, practice. So I'm not using heat and I'm not using air. And we know as soon as something is kind of disconnected from the earth, so
Mhm.
pulled from a tree if it's a fruit, or pulled up from the ground, or picked, immediately we start to lose the nutritional value. So I knew I had to lock it in at its peak.
Mhm.
And so I use this flash freeze drying process, and then I actually mix everything and encapsulate it by hand in vegan capsules. So that means it is accessible to anyone, even folks with egg allergies or who are against gelatin or pork, etc. And my formulas extend everywhere from high blood pressure. I have a formula for high blood pressure that I take every day that has gotten me almost completely off of my blood pressure medicine.
Oh,
Yes, I'm so proud to say I was a person who my normal blood pressure was 140s over 90s, and I was taking the medicine, but I still couldn't get that like below 130, couldn't get that bottom number below like mid 80s, and started taking these beet vitamins, learning that beets, arugula, radishes, these
nitrate rich. Yep.
that's right. And they relax those blood vessels. And I'm like, I'm learning all of this. I have such this wealth of information because having worked in healthcare, I still had access to all the medical journals, and it is there. It is there. All the foods that we could be eating and should be eating, not only for hypertension, but I know you'll love this one, Lewis. I have a fiber vitamin that's great for lowering type 2 diabetes, and we're getting
Yep.
plenty of fiber into our diets to help us feel full longer and reduce that cholesterol as we can. And also, I do have something for blood sugar as well. I saw
Oh,
that pop up in the
you see
chat.
the formula right there?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that one. Specifically, that formula that I have in there. And I know that Lewis is going to put up my website. It's
Yeah. I'm gonna do
earth-worker.com.
that now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and the one for blood sugar has black seed in it and has okra and fenugreek and cinnamon. So these are all, I try to focus on fruits and vegetables that have a historical amount of knowledge in them, have been used for centuries to help cure and treat these diseases.
Mhm.
So I guess that's, that's the long and the short of it. I mean, I all of this started, before me having the hypertension issue. I actually started with a small garden in my front yard. I was living in a row house. I had about maybe 20 square feet. My first little raised bed was 6 feet by 3 feet or something. And I fell in love with fresh food and vegetables, and have children now who eat raw green beans out of the garden and pop cherry tomatoes and
Mhm.
all of that stuff, who have learned all the great things that you all are talking about. If I can just say, to piggyback on what Farmer D was talking about, because food really is my passion,
Mhm.
um, just to never be discouraged about growing. Like you said, Lewis, grow something that's easy. Go for that easy win.
Yeah.
If you're having trouble, there are lots of things I'm really good at growing. I can't grow spinach. I don't know
Okay.
why. So you know what? I don't grow spinach. I
Okay.
don't upset myself with the fact that I can't grow spinach. I grow the stuff that I grow really well, and that because I know if I grow it well, I can grow it easily. I'm more connected to it, and I'm more likely to consume it. But as I was saying before, when it comes to the supplements, getting all that stuff in can be hard work. And I just wanted to find a way to help people to get those foods in, and really to disrupt the nutritional supplement industry. What they're doing to us is a grave injustice.
Yeah,
It's terrible.
it's terrible.
Not only just capsules, but we think of like powders, powder supplements that we see advertised on TV and advertised in stores. People have told me side by side comparisons, beet powders they bought off of the shelf where the beets have been sitting there for God knows how long,
Yeah,
and gotten into that jar, who knows in what way, as
yeah.
compared to these farm fresh vitamins that I create.
Thank you so much for sharing. I mean, and I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Gabita says she used sweet garlic. I know a lot of us are getting our supplements and putting a lot of trust in companies, specifically in the industry that's unregulated. And it is sad. I've actually heard people say that, if you want to get into a quick money making scheme, go into the supplement industry.
Yep.
So like you could get away with some stuff, boy.
Yes, you
But,
can.
this is a great opportunity. You're using local produce, right? So you're trying to capture the produce at its earliest stage, right? To
Yes.
encapsulate all this nutrients before it's lost and shipping across the country,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
You're freeze drying them, encapsulating them yourself. So you're putting trust back into supplements. This
Yes.
is something that we really don't have today, and you're providing that, man.
Yes.
Joy, your work is needed.
Thank you. Thank
Work.
you.
So I want you guys who are watching share this business with anybody who is using supplements. Earthworker.com. I love that you even have like the health benefits and what it is really, like we just talked about with Farmer D, pharmaceuticals, right?
Yes.
Going to the farm for our medicine, and ditch the pharmacy and grow the
Yeah.
cure. Um, this is it, man. This was about, we got to bring you
I'd be
back
happy
on,
to. Oh,
Joy.
thank you.
Yeah, gotta bring you back on. So guys, thank you so much for spending this time with us. Make sure you visit farmerd.com and Earthworkers website, and of course reach out to them if you want more, if you have questions or need support in your health journey. You could also find Joy on Instagram, right? And I think you go by, let me see, I am an earth
Yes.
worker. I like it. Let me go ahead and post that right there too, so you guys can go ahead and follow Joy on her Instagram account. And so let's work together, guys. We need, now more than ever, we need to be a community, right? We need to be a community. We need to look out for ourselves, because the powers that be, they ain't looking out for me. They ain't looking out for you. So we need to look out for each other. All right. So yeah, and then of course, make sure you check the links in our description section if you are looking for support in your diabetes journey. We do coach people to reverse diabetes with food as medicine, with the same principle. And we want, if you're a person who is struggling with diabetes, whether it be type 1 or type 2, and you want to come off medications or reduce your insulin use if you're a type 1 diabetic, then Diabetes 180 is something you should be looking into, because that's what we specialize in. All right, Joy, thank you so much for your time, and everybody for watching. Beloved, I pray above all things that you may prosper